Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast. The podcast is designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. Now, with me today is another legend who is not a podiatrist. So every now and then I like to bring somebody in who I know from somewhere around the world who is really smart at what they do, and I know offers value to people that are going to listen to the podcast, or podiatrists, whoever's happening to be listening to this episode. Now, I've got a local lad. He's actually from Melbourne. His name is Prosper Taruvinga. Don't you just love that first name, Prosper? And he is a digital marketing strategist. He has a team called Live Long, which we will touch on, Live Long Digital, and they're based in Melbourne. And he helps people with SEO, positioning, and strategy. So, Prosper, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your platform here.
This is good because you were on my old podcast, It's No Secret with Dr. T, back in like episode 101, about 5 or 6 years ago. Time flies.
So much has happened. So either personally and also in the world. I'm really glad that we've connected again. So much has shaken the world in the last couple of years, and I'm good to see that you're still alive and well and keeping providing value.
That's how this all started. Was I was on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden I couldn't find you on LinkedIn. You disappeared, and I went, oh. So I went to Facebook, and I couldn't find you on Facebook, and I went, don't tell me Prosper's dead. So I did a Google search, and you were still sort of around, but I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on here. So I sent you an email, and then you responded and went, okay, you're still alive, which goes to prove, and we said this off air, that you do not own your social media platforms. It's just renting that space.
Oh, absolutely. And it is something that I'm now teaching my clients as well. It's a framework which is basically called ORB, which is owned media, rented media, and borrowed media. Okay. So if you own like this podcast here, unless you literally deleted this podcast today, it's written in stone. It's never going to be taken away from you. And you've got an opportunity to put it on any platform. Whereas when you're putting stuff on social media, you are at the mercy of the algorithm of the day. Have you noticed how different the algorithms are changing?
Always.
Anytime you show up, there's something different that they're trying out, and it's an experiment all the time. So they haven't figured out who they are themselves. How then do you expect for you to then be able to know what it is that you should show up as? So I really tell my clients, hey, own your content, and then you can then decide what media platform you can put it. Like, you own this podcast, you can then decide whether you put it on Spotify, you can put it on Apple, or you can put it on Amazon, or wherever your clients are listening from.
Goes everywhere.
You can put that on Facebook, but it has to emanate from a place of ownership.
Yeah, and I think, and that's why I've said for you, your website is your mothership. Everything you do should be pushing toward your website, all the information that you own. Whereas I have seen people in the past where they do marketing, but they're pushing people to their Facebook page, or they're pushing them to their YouTube channel, or something like, which is fine if you don't get booted off.
Oh, absolutely. You see, like right now, the fact that you Googled me, I think the first thing that would have come up is probably an Instagram profile that I'm trying to maybe get rid of. But
it was actually. Yeah, yes, it was right. An Instagram
and then
profile.
The second would be our website, which pretty much is how I now want to show up in the world, so that people find us based on what we hope they will find about what it is that we're doing, and then maybe they can then find remnants of the footprint, the online footprint, either on social media or other platforms that are out there. So it is imperative that you actually own your space, and you can actually then really direct the narrative of how people can connect with you and actually book your podiatry services or whatever services you've got going on out there.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's like you said with the podcast, even if where I host my podcast, if they got shut down tomorrow, I still have every recording. I have the raw audio. I have the edited versions. Everything I've put together, I actually own it. So I could easily take it and then upload it somewhere else if I wanted to.
Absolutely. See, the way that this whole internet sort of showed up, it had people that were gatekeepers, like, you know, your social, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, and, you know, your Pinterest and things like that. And up until last 2 or so years, people actually thought the internet was Facebook. People
Yeah.
actually thought the internet was LinkedIn, whereas there is millions and millions of other websites out there. Okay, so it is only now that people are now realizing, wait a minute, I've just been logged into this one particular avenue of the internet, whereas there's a whole place out there. But the internet platforms, they're not stupid themselves. The social media platforms, they are trying to bring everything to you so you don't log out of those platforms. That is why a lot of people have now decided, wait a minute, I might as well put all my eggs in that one particular basket. But like you were saying, you tried to look for me on that platform and you couldn't find me. Had I had all my work, my history, and my past on that one particular platform, guess what would have happened? This interview wouldn't be happening.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I have heard of people who had websites, had other things that they owned, but because Facebook was going so well for them, they put all their eggs into the one basket. And then went, this is where all my clients are on Facebook. Therefore, I'm putting all my attention into Facebook or all my attention to Instagram or whatever the platform was. And then all of a sudden, it just disappeared.
Absolutely.
For whatever reason, they got booted off. And I think the first time they were able to come back like a month later. It took a month to get them back on there.
Yep.
But they said what happened to their business over that month all of a sudden made them realize I made no money while those platforms were down. And then they started moving back over to their website. Their email database was just, they said, is their gold mine.
Absolutely. You see, the one thing about this whole marketing is all we're trying to do is bring clients back to us, to either buy from us, to either connect with us, or to either literally subscribe to whatever we've got going.
Yeah,
or
right? keep them educated as well at the same time.
Yes, and also keeping them educated, right? So how it then happens is it then depends on the person who's actually creating, or the business owner, okay? In this case, a podiatrist, right? Do they really want to create some sort of a platform for themselves? All right. It's easy to show up where there's people already congregated. It's easy to show up on Facebook. It's easy to show up on Instagram, because anyone from any country can scroll past your page. But are they the right kind of person with the right kind of need of your services? Are they actually going to be paying you, or are they willing and able? We might get all this vanity of people liking, commenting, and sharing, but do they actually need the the services that we've got to offer? Do they have a pain in their feet that we need to then reach out to them and see if we can and help them? Are they within the geographic area where our practice is actually located? So yes, we might have 500 likes from somebody in Bujumbura. Yes, they might have some sort of feet problem, but are they gonna take the walk down to your actual practice? So we need to be very cognizant of, yes, we're having this much traction, but is it the kind of traction that we really want? Is it the people that are going to be the feet in our, practices?
Yeah, I've got two stories around that, because I got one where I did a strapping video for heel pain. Right. And it's a 90-second video. The audio is not very good. The lighting's terrible, but it was just something at the time. I did it and I put it up there. And it's had, I think, 83,000 views.
Right.
Now, there's no way that there's 83,000 potential patients in my area where I had my podiatry clinic. But they were from all over the place. And there was another time I was a guest on somebody else's podcast. That episode in the first month had 114,000 downloads that month. So it's actually, I was one of the podcasts, it's one of the biggest podcasts on Apple Podcasts at the time. But because what I was talking about, even though the content I was sharing was interesting, and that's why he wanted me on there, because I had a different way of viewing something, my clients are podiatrists that I work with. So the chance out of that 114,000 downloads from this podcast that the podiatrist actually listening to it was very, very slim. because I wasn't my audience.
Absolutely. You see, we are people that we're societal beings, and we feed off notoriety, or we feed off praise from either our parents, the people around us, and everything else. And society and social media gives us that, because they know we feed off the energy of other people. And if you really step back and watch, most of the views, or the people that were actually looking at those videos, most of them are bots. Okay, and social media has figured that we crave for that. I remember when I was starting with my business, I used to show up on a Facebook Live every single day at 2 p.m. AEST, right, for 30 minutes, and I'll give people value, and I would have 50 or so people in my audience. But none of those people were converting into customers that pay, stay, or even refer. And nobody was even looking me up like you have done to even come to even look at what I was writing on my Facebook page. People were just looking for what's new, what can I learn from what's happening here? And then they're off to do whatever it is. So that could have been happening to that podcast, because you had a different mindset, and it was a new modality of getting information. So yes, people will be intrigued. How do I sound on a podcast? What do I say? What is this guy saying? And 9 times out of 10, they get what they want. And you would have, spent your time, money, or effort creating that piece of content. And yes, you do get the likes, the shares, and everything else. But does that then ring your till back home? Does that, constitute a growth in your practice, or growth in your mailing list, or growth in just you as a person in business? Half of the time, it's just depleting our energy.
Yeah, I like what you said about the whole vanity side of things too, because I was talking to my brother recently, and like one of his daughters, I won't say which one, if she posts something, if it doesn't get a certain amount of likes by a certain time, she'll delete it.
Yeah.
And he said, if you ever want to stir her up, when she posts something, just say to her, go, "Oh, are you still wearing that top?" Or say to her, go, "Oh, that you look like you've put on a little bit of weight." He said, if you make a negative comment on anything that she has posted, it will be gone within 5 seconds.
Wow, that's no way to leave, man, because you're leaving for the moment. And the algorithms only allow people to see a picture for only 3 seconds. Now, you've got 24 hours in a day. And if you're going to be wasting that 24 hours, and somebody might argue and say, sometimes part of that they're sleeping or they're doing work. No, they're not. Their brain is just fixated on that, way of getting value in and of themselves, which really takes away from them growing, contributing, learning, and doing things that matter for people who actually care. Now, when we're looking at it in a business context, you are much better off trying to connect and engage with people that have already bought from you before. Those are the people that would then refer more work, and you're guaranteed they're within your local vicinity. I would suggest maybe creating, instead of just posting randomly on these pages, creating some sort of a community around your the work that you're doing. Okay, so as a podiatrist, you could start a sporting community, a walking community, something that these people are actually going to engage. And when you start talking and commenting and liking and sharing people walking with their dogs, then the more they're going to walk with their dogs, the more they're going to ruin their feet, and the more they're going to come back to you. So I would rather be in that space than try and watch some girl, at a beach somewhere I would never show up at, and pretend that is part of my community, when I know that person is never going to buy from me ever.
So it's sort of like, because a lot of times you'll see it, especially on Instagram more than Facebook, where podiatrists will post certain things, and they'll spend a lot of time. That they've spent a lot of time creating a video, and it might be certain words, or they're doing something clever, or they're pointing around the screen, or holding up cards, or they're just doing something that everybody else seems to be doing at the same time. But when you look at it, there might be 50 people may have liked it, but when you scroll through to who liked it, in podiatry land, 45 of them were podiatrists, and the other 4 were 2 of their parents and siblings. So it's the same people that are seeing it. Is it really the patients that they want seeing? Yeah, after all that hard work of putting that time and effort into doing that, do they really get the return from it?
This is what I usually encourage, especially a local business. Okay, so if you're only going to be working with people within a 50 sort of kilometer radius around you, there's school activities, there's sporting grounds, there's those park runs that people are doing. There's local cycling sort of activities. If you are really keen on creating some sort of engagement, I would advise you be a part of that or sponsor some sort of local activity that's happening just to bring awareness to your business. Because if you're going to be just doing stuff for the algorithms, let me tell you something, the algorithms are insatiable. They would never have enough content. And if you would notice, people come to the internet to get information. And if they're going to be getting that information from you, they get to know you, like you, and trust you. And people do business with those they know, like, and trust. Wouldn't that be effective to spend your energy with the people that are walking just outside your shop? Like, you could literally trip them, just put your foot out there and they won't see. And then you trip them and you're like, oh, did you hurt your ankle? I do happen to be a podiatrist.
I did that at 10-pin bowling once. I dropped a ball accidentally on someone's foot. And they were going, and they said, oh, and then I said, let me have a look. They said, what do you do? So I'm a podiatrist. And they went, oh, is this how you get your patients?
My insurance doesn't cover that, though, but you do it at your own risk. Yeah, absolutely.
So where do people start with all this? So if a podiatrist is listening to this now and they've gone, yeah, maybe I'm spending too much time on Facebook, LinkedIn, or other places, do you think it's not something that they should abandon because they can create a community online, but are you saying they should just need to pull back? Don't, like you said before, don't put all your eggs in the one basket.
You see, the one thing that a lot of people don't understand is we are now dealing with a very educated customer. So our customers are literally seeking all the medical information that they need from their phone. So you want to be in a position to be one of those people that is giving that information to those people. That's the first place I would start off from, okay? So how do you then give information? Like what you're doing, this podcast here, you literally can start conversations, all right, within the community. What is actually happening? How do you get people walking and being active? Because at the end of the day, people are not seeking, for solutions of whatever it is that you are offering. People are seeking their own well-being. So how do you get people active? How do you get people, up and about again? Because I don't know about you, here in Melbourne, we were locked down for 260 days. The most that people were doing was walking around their neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right. And if you can start encouraging that, even if things are open right now, but what as a podiatrist are you doing to engage your community so that they can actually, start using or getting back on their feet? Obviously, it's counterintuitive to give people ideas on how to actually strengthen the use of their feet and things like that. But the more you give them that advice, they now get to have an awareness of what to do and what not to do. And you just so happen to be the person who can fix them if they do have a problem in the future. So you want to start by creating content that you own, right? Either a podcast or either videos that you can house on your website or some sort of channel, but bringing people back to your own properties, just like bringing people back to your own practice, and make it easy for people to schedule calls with you.
Yeah, I was talking about this with a friend of mine, Jim McDonald, who I do a podiatry marketing podcast with. And he was saying pretty much exactly the same thing, that you've just got to, he says, and we were talking about blogging at the time, and he was saying so many people just spend all the time, they just blog, but what they're blogging is not what people are wanting. It's rubbish and a waste of time. He said, really think about the core of your business, your website. is making sure you're putting really good quality evergreen content and information on your website, because then people will come to that website, they'll find it, they'll read through it, and they'll be going, yes, you're the person that I actually want to go and see. But to write a blog article about certain types of shoelaces, people are going, yeah, is anyone really, you could spend a whole day writing a blog article on shoelaces, but is anyone really there going, I want to learn more about shoelaces today?
Oh, you see, right now I've got shoelaces on. The moment I tied them in the morning, up until right now, that's when I've actually started thinking about that.
Yeah.
So you want to be a part, feet are a part of everyday life. Right now, if I get out there to just walk to get a glass of water, I'm on my feet. If I then walk to the school to go pick up my daughter, I'm on my feet. If I may be skateboarding or riding or whatever it is, I'm on my feet. So if you can be a part of what your clients are doing every single day, first of all, to just give them general advice on how to really take care of their feet, and also what to look out for when certain things are happening. People will be eager to know information like that, because right now, I kid you not, a lot of people are taking it up to Dr. Google before they even reach out to a podiatrist. Now, do you know where Google gets that information from?
Everyone's websites.
Absolutely. All right. So Google lied to everyone. And they make people believe that, when you type in whatever keyword or whatever information online, somebody at Google is picking up websites and throwing them in front of whoever has asked for them. Whereas Google is just sitting behind the scenes and optimizing all the websites, and whatever the algorithm is checking, who's got the best information for this kind of question that this person is asking. So you might as well play in Google's, favor, because guess what? Google wants to save face, and you might as well just give that information to Google, and nobody's going to find out that Google lied to us, and nobody gets embarrassed. All right. So those are the things that you could do. People are sitting on their phones. They've got a pain in their toe. They've got a pain in their foot. Sorry, I don't quite know much about podiatry, but at the end of the day, it's got something to do with feet, right? So people
you're pretty close. Yeah, as long as you keep talking about feet, you're going to be in the ballpark.
Absolutely, right there. You see?
But it's funny what you said then. When if someone has a problem, more than likely, like, because I have a home office and I work from home a lot, so I will jump on my laptop or my desktop to check for something. But a lot of people, when you're out and about, and that's when you've got a problem, you will go and grab your phone, and that's where you're actually going to be doing your searching. And what is funny, what you said before about just social media and things like that, the number of people I know just recently who have removed Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, they've removed it all from their phone, because they said it was so often they would have some downtime, say 5 minutes standing in a line at a bank. And next thing, they'd be on Facebook just scrolling through stuff, and they've wasted that 5 minutes. They said now that they don't have it on there, they're returning that phone call, they're checking messages on something else. They're actually using that 5 minute of downtime productively and not just wasting time. And then they're only looking at Facebook when they get home and they're on their computer.
Look at us right now. We're just two grown men having a chat.
Yeah.
Like, just really having a chat. We're not scrolling nothing. We're not trying to be, raising our dopamine levels or nothing. We're just generally having a chat. And in the process, we're creating value. We're creating something that will outlast us. These 30 minutes are now set in stone. What happens then when you're just scrolling, and you are just, feeding your brain or your mind with things that don't help you? So a lot of people have become smart. They just engage the internet with what they want. All right. So if you then look into that as well as a practitioner, you know what I mean? People are going to City Search. People are going to Google My Business or the maps or whatever it is. People are going to WebMD to just get the information that they want. And pretty much after that, they log out, they go away. Nobody's going to be waiting to see your TikTok dance on TikTok or your reels on Instagram, because this is what the newsfeed looks like. As far as I remember, I haven't been on there for years. So there's a post from your girlfriend from 7 years ago, and then there's a post from your mother-in-law, and then there's a post from your old boys association, and then there's a post from your church or from the parliament and the government, and then there's some podiatry company who's also trying to get your attention. Pretty much after that, then there's another post from the people you had a drink with last night. So who of all those things, it has happened in a 5-second attention span. You now tell me the human brain is going to remember, oh yes, Frank Tyson's podiatry. The next time I've got feet problem, that's where I'm going to go, and that sticks in their brain.
No,
I don't think that it works like that. I don't think people have taken the time to really, look at the frame of what it is that actually happens in the mind when somebody is on social media. It usually happens when they're in the toilet. It usually happens, like you say, they're in a bank.
Hey, you got a video camera on me.
When they're waiting for something.
Yeah.
All right. And maybe they're waiting at the Vic Roads or the Roads Department place for their license, right? And then all of a sudden they're called, they already switch off whatever it is that we're reading about what you've got, nothing. But if you use that opportunity to bring them back home to your profile, to your practice, to your content, then at least, you might have some sort of way of then communicating with them later on. And then there's also one thing that happens. Feet are obviously one of those parts of our body that if you've got problems with them, it limits your whole life. You can't be with your kids. You can't go out dancing. You just can't do a lot of things. And it also can be a very embarrassing thing to have for a lot of people. And they want to just see this maybe in the privacy of their own time without everything else happening. So you want to also make sure that you are aware of that aspect of how people want to engage with some content. So if people are in the public newsfeed, they feel like everybody's watching them. If you take them to their email, they know they're the only person logging in. It's a psychological thing that a lot of people don't get. All right. So if you're showing up in private platforms, anywhere where people don't feel like they're being watched, you get people's attention because everybody thinks people are watching them. That whole vanity, people are seeing what I'm doing online. There's no anonymity when they're in the newsfeed. But if you take them to a private place, there's stats to that you can actually look up. I'm sorry I can't give you those right now.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Psychologically you can tell the sense of what I'm talking about, right? So you want to take them out of those public roads, which is the newsfeed, and bring them into your practice, into your content, into the things that you have created, and then share the love of what it is that you're doing. You just so happen to charge them if they ask for your service.
Yeah, I must admit, my email newsletter probably gets more engagement than any other thing that I do online on any platform, other than the podcast. Podcast gets great engagement. It's doing really well. But my email newsletter, every time I send it out, it has an open rate of usually over 60%, which
directed at them. People
which is
only
great.
Respond to marketing that speaks to them.
That's why the poor buggers who unsubscribe, I go, you silly bastards.
Don't worry about them. It's like the rubbish is taking itself out.
I know. I just go, you silly buggers. You should have stayed. You don't know what was coming next month. But it's just that if they don't want to hear your message, they don't have to hear your message.
Oh, absolutely. You see the things like foot pain, it's usually not an emergency.
Yeah.
All right. So it's something that somebody starts looking for, and you need to create that journey with them, walk with them, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? If somebody is got maybe ankle pain or foot pain, or they've got hammer toes, or maybe is it bunions or flat feet or things like that, it's not something that might require immediate attention, or like they will call an ambulance for that, unless it's a broken something that really needs work done. So in the time that they're seeking and searching for a provider, that's where you need to be there with them, All right. And that's why people are opening up your emails, Tyson, because you're walking with them on a journey. Not everyone is ready to buy immediately when they see your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Even when you reached out to me, even though I was excited, I didn't say, yeah, let's jump on a call the next 30 minutes. No, I had to look for a time that was convenient for me, where I wasn't going to be disturbed, and you would also be prepared, and I'll be prepared for this call. So people have their lives busy. So because what we're anticipating with social media is, here, I've created it for you, act now. Otherwise, that's it, or that's the be it and end all.
Yeah,
you need to be opening up those conversations with them. That's what social media really is about. You want to open up those conversations, and once you have that attention, then you now ask, like you were referencing Seth Godin, you now get the permission to now start reaching out to them, and then people allow you to sell to them. People like buying stuff, but they don't like being sold to.
Oh, definitely. Well, it's definitely like a friend of mine, Dave Freeze, and I've said it heaps of times myself. It's the money is in the follow-up.
Oh, for sure.
Somebody reaches out to your clinic and they ask a question, for example. I was just wondering, how much is it for a consultation? Now, you can just answer that question and go, oh, it's $95, it's $105. And they go, oh, okay, thank you, bye. Or you can say, oh, what type of problem are you having? Oh, I have heel pain. Go, oh, and you can start asking them questions. You go, well, and then you could say, okay, you go through your process, use your phone skills on how to make that appointment. But if they're not ready to make the appointment, if you said to them, oh, would you mind if I sent you some information on that particular problem? Yeah, while you're thinking about it. If you can collect their email address and then actually have a nurture program in place with a step-by-step guide on, might be 10 things that you might send them over a long period of time. Every time they get that information, and yes, there will be some people that will send you an email and say, hey, stop sending me stuff. Fine. That's good. It saves you time. But when we were doing this at our clinic, we found that 25% of the people we had on any nurture program became a patient.
Oh, absolutely.
It's 25%. And that equated to a lot of patients over a long period of time.
Half of the time, if you really look at it, if you've got your services in some sort of a care package or some sort of, with podiatry, I don't think it's a one-time activity. You can actually create packages and really have a lifetime value with your customers, right? And the more somebody knows about what needs to be done, the more they will literally be able to work with you or work with your business. I'll give it a different example, but I think it applies to podiatry. Can you see my teeth?
I can see your teeth. I can see your teeth on the video. For people who are listening to the podcast, you're from Zimbabwe, aren't you?
I'm from Zimbabwe, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a darker skin tone than I do.
Right.
So yes, your teeth stand out quite easily.
Absolutely. And can you also see there's this very prominent gap in between the teeth?
I do see that. Okay.
So obviously as a person, I've got vanity around that as well. Sometimes I want it covered. Sometimes people tell me, nah, it's the character of who you are and things of that nature. And there's that constant back and forth. Should I do it or should I not? Should I do it or should I not? I can afford it. Yeah. Which is not a problem, but it's not that much of an emergency, and I feel like it's now part of who I've become. And I'm also noticing my kids are also developing it, and so I'm like, wait a minute, if I then close it, then it's going to cost me a lot of money in the future getting them braces, so I might as well save myself some money. But talking in the terms of health and everything else, so this is something that I feel is also akin to maybe having some feet problems. Okay, I understand and I know this needs to be worked on, but I'm not in a rush to get it done. If a dentist person with dentures starts showing up in my space and really starts showing me the benefits and how it's done and how easy and how simple and how pain-free it's going to be and how much there's not going to be any downtime and I can still do this and still come back and be on a video with you like this and all that information, it will help me make the decision, wouldn't it? But every time I walk past a dental practice, when I'm going to pick up or drop off my kids, there's a sign that says new patients welcome. And every time I look at it, I'm like, you know what? I could literally come upstairs and talk to you guys and find out if you guys can help me. But I don't identify as a patient.
Yeah.
I don't see myself as a patient who needs to be worked with you. So there's also one other thing. When you start understanding the future that your customers want, you want to start talking in terms of that. You want to start talking in terms of delivering that for them. Those that are willing and able will then obviously jump on and say, hey, you know what? I think I'm the guy you're talking about. So what people are always looking for with podiatry, they want to move well and they want to be active. So if you're going to be sending them emails, if you're going to be showing up on social media, show them how they can do that, how they can do that with less stress and struggle, because everyone out there is seeking happiness. And if you just give them that, right, when they do show up at your place, you just so happen to have a plan, that they can jump onto, and people would appreciate that.
Yeah, it's true, because you've got different patients. Like you said, there'll be some podiatry patients that they're in pain. Something's happened. They've had a big weekend. They've got out of bed. They've got heel pain, or they've got ingrown toenail, and they go, oh, I need this fixed. A lot of times the husbands will complain about it, and the wives will eventually say, I'm sick of hearing you complain. You need to do something about it. But when the decision's made, they will go, unless they work with a lot of people and they know that somebody has seen a podiatrist before, they may ask for a referral. But a lot of people will go straight online and they'll start searching podiatrist in Cairns, podiatrist in Melbourne, podiatrist in Chicago who can help me with my heel pain. And they're going to be looking at websites, reading through websites, looking at the content. And if they make an inquiry, even if they're still not sure, is there something I should or shouldn't do, that's when the nurturing can sort of come in afterwards. So that's one type of patient. Then you've got your other type who they don't know they have a foot problem. There's signs and symptoms. They just think that bunion, the clawed toes, the hammer toes, that weird looking bulge out of the ankle, that's what my mum had. That's what my grandmother looked like. That's what my father looked like. It's always been like that. And that is a massive group that don't realize that certain problems can be prevented. And if you can just somehow be in their life and slowly drip feed this information, all of a sudden they'll go, oh, actually, they're talking to me. That's what my foot looks like.
Absolutely. You really need to be there and actually help people by actually helping them. Because half of these things, yes, it's a trade and a practice that has always been there, but I don't think, does Medicare cover podiatry?
Yes and no. So for the average person, probably not. Well, actually, I'll rephrase that.
Yeah,
they do. The Medicare does cover people that have a chronic condition through a patient care plan and things like that. But when I had my clinic, we treat everybody privately. So if you came with one of those referrals, we'd go, great, still pay us, and you go and claim it through Medicare afterwards. So yeah, they're limited amounts.
Absolutely. So obviously that's already a barrier. Because a lot of people, when they associate health, they're just going to be like, is this bug build? And am I just going to get it fixed or whatever it is? Now, you are now appealing to people's emotions. Everybody is always trying to be happier, richer, wealthier, sexier than their neighbors and things of that nature. And if they can't wear their heels because maybe they've got bunions, or if they can't, show up at a wedding because obviously they don't have the right shoes that match whatever they're dressed, that is now infringing on their happiness. And a lot of people don't realize it starts with the feet. It starts with the shoes that we're wearing. It starts with just the proper care of the things that stand by us all through the time.
I've said that. I've had coaching clients and I've said to them, are there any wedding shops around your area? And they go, yeah. I go and set up a relationship with the wedding shop. And they went, why? And I said, tell you, brides will spend a fortune on their dress and their veil and their hair and and everything else. I said, and you don't, they're going to look down at the feet. If they've got fungal toenails or an ingrown toenail or just something that doesn't look the best, I said, if you can form a relationship with the wedding shop, that will become part of some of the things that they may offer or refer onto. Since I've told a lot of people that, if I go past a wedding shop and out of town somewhere, I don't mind ducking and say, hey, do you have a relationship with a podiatrist? And nearly everyone will go, no, but I wish I did, because I see a lot of ugly feet. So there's opportunities out there for people to really connect with their community.
So that's why I think we're going full circle now, because
Yeah.
I did say that when we started. Instead of trying to impress people that are in other countries or other regions, you could actually just pound the pavement.
Yep.
You know, really show up in gyms, really show up in even grocery stores. You know, I don't know how it works around here, but you know, you could maybe set up a, I don't know, foot measuring or something that connects you with the actual.
Yeah, I used to do a talk
people.
once a year.
Yes.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
a talk once a year for BDO Kendall's, which was a large accounting firm up here, because I knew that they budgeted a certain amount of money for work health and safety. So I remember reaching out to them and said, oh, I'm prepared to come in and do this hour talk just about foot health and footwear. And do you realize how many days people have off of work because of foot injuries? And they went, oh, that'd be great. How much for you to come in? Now I was going to do it for free. And I went, I'll do it for 200. They went, okay. So I was going to do it anyway. Yeah. And then they paid me to come in and do it, which was a bonus. So how many large accounting firms, lawyer businesses, just how many businesses are there where you could go in and at least start educating?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing about it is it sounds like work. And I'm going to say this without much love and respect. I'm going to say this without much love and respect. What I've realized is when people go in and get a trade or a skill and some sort of qualification, a lawyer, accountant, a podiatrist, a chiropractor, or whatever it is, they think their learning ends the day they get that certificate. Yeah. But they're not out there really connecting with the right people, connecting with what their patients really want, what brought them to them. And if you can follow that trail and learn and really show up and create for and relate to the audience, you would definitely be the most referred to and the most patronized podiatrist in your area. But so many people just say, you know what, when people show up, they're going to see my certificate at the, you know, at the back of my chair. I think that's good enough, you know, to showcase that I'm good at what I'm doing. Some people don't know the existence of some modalities. I mean, yes, we're in the first world here and people are very health conscious, but for people like me that are coming from overseas, you know, you only go to the doctor when your head is hanging out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when you've lost all your teeth and one eye is literally gouged out like this. So there's a lot of education that you can do. And most of these people, they have disposable income that they can actually utilize, you know, for them to patronize your business. But you got to educate people. You know what I mean? And we get paid in direct proportion to the value that we bring to the marketplace. And if you're going to be helping people do and have a happier existence, that in and of itself would definitely get, you know, well recognized and, you know, obviously people showing up to your practice or your consulting room.
Yeah, well, if I had a choice, if somebody said, Tyson, you have a choice, work on your Facebook page for the next, I'm going to have my podiatry clinic, work on your Facebook page for the next 12 months, or you can only do one of these, work on the Facebook page, or we can organize 10 talks for you at Rotary and Apex, the Rotary groups in the area, 10 different groups over the next 12 months. Which one would you do? I would take the talks every day of the week.
And do them for free.
And do them for free. And I would stand in front of 20, 30, 40 people 10 times throughout the year. And I know for a fact that I get more engagement with the community that way. And I get far more patients doing that than I ever got through Facebook.
That's it. At the end of the day, the people that are in a space with you, those are the people that will show up to your practice. Because everybody else on social media, people could be anywhere. Do you know my grandma right now in Africa has social media and she gets to see, she gets to post. She literally the other day boosted a photo of my kids so that her friends can see the photograph. So we are appealing to people that have got nothing to do with our local presence. But if you show up right where your customers are, the lady who's standing next to you in line at McDonald's, the guy who's actually at the school gate with you waiting to pick up their kids, that is who your customer is. And we never end up striking a conversation with our neighbors, with the people that we regularly see at the fun runs or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I wish there was so many people within my community that would just really help each other by actually helping each other.
That's amazing. It's amazing you say that, because one of my guests that's a serial offender on the show, Patrick McEnany, he's in Chicago. He's got, I've lost count of how many podiatry clinics he's got. I remember talking to him and I said, what's your biggest marketing tip? And he said, my biggest marketing tip is, and he's got children. He says, when I'm at soccer or whatever other sport, he says, I leave my phone in my pocket and I talk to the parents. And I don't talk about podiatry unless they bring up the conversation, but usually I always ask, hey, Pat, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I'm a podiatrist. And that just sparks a conversation. He said, or I could sit there for an hour with my phone in front of me and my head down, scrolling through Facebook and doing that and not communicating with anybody, or I can just go and talk to people. And that's what he does. And the other thing that happened, I could, here's the world's best podiatry book. It's no secret there's money in podiatry. Might as well give it a plug. I could post something about that book on social media, and I could even boost it. I could boost it. And there might be some people that I'll see it just spike a little bit with sales, because I wrote it 8 years ago. I was at a podiatry conference and I took 10 of these along with me. I just happened to have them there. I was on stage, I was talking, and said, oh, by the way, I've got 10 copies of my book. I sold the 10 of them within 5 minutes of walking off the stage. Because my audience was right in front of me. Whereas on Facebook, the people who are seeing are not always your audience.
Absolutely. You see, Facebook, I'm not putting a dig in.
We're not bagging Facebook. So if Facebook's watching this video, we are not bagging you at all. Don't boot me off.
Please give me my profile back.
Give Prosperous profile back, you bastards.
You see, it's not a dig at that. Facebook shouldn't be your business. It should be an enhancement of what you've already created. Okay. So at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know how I can put this in ways that are not too much. You see, the thing is, when you're wearing your outfit, you look at what you're wearing right now. You've got a nice shirt, you've got a nice necklace, spectacles and things like that, and a really nice wristwatch. All of those are accessories. Yeah. All right. All of those are accessories, but you could go without. What are the essentials that you can't go without? And if you can try and make the essentials, first of all, your business, your content and things like that, and then the accessories will just be enhancers. Your social media can just enhance the look of who you are. Right now, even if you didn't have that watch, that wouldn't do anything to your appearance. That wouldn't do anything to the way you're showing up on this podcast right now. But it just maybe enhances, and it's gotten us to speak about it for 1 minute. But at the end of the day, you really want to look at what your priorities are. What are the things, your non-negotiables? Your non-negotiables should be things that you control. Right now, I'm proof that if you rely so much on social media, you will definitely lose everything. Along the way. See, I like what
you said then about your non-negotiables, is because it's like we're doing this podcast now. Non-negotiables, shirt.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't have a shirt on, then
it would be uncomfortable doing this podcast with a shirt. But pants are optional because you can't see me from the waist down. It's Yeah, you might not be wearing pants. I don't know, but at least you're wearing a shirt, so I feel more comfortable.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it would have been something else. Then I would have been like, what is Tyson inviting me for if you showed up with no shirt there? All right.
I did a Zoom call with somebody once, and they came on call without a shirt on.
Wow.
And I actually said, can you put a shirt on? And they went, well, why? And I said,
Oh no.
I said, it just seemed weird that I'm talking to. I said, because I can only see you from the waist up. I said, you could be nude. I said,
Oh
come put a shirt on.
no.
Anyway, lucky I knew him pretty well. So.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, but at the end of the day, your customers, you see, there's one other thing that I wanted to bring about, which you sort of touched upon. You see, you talked about a market. All right. A market, especially when it's on social media, is just conversations.
Yeah.
What are people talking about? And does that have anything to do with your business? Does that have anything to do with your local area? You know what I mean? So if in terms of talking, those are the conversations. Are you part of the local conversations where people would actually come and maybe sit in your waiting room and have those same discussions? Because if that's not happening, then it's a waste of your time. Are you, and conversations are pixels or words or sound bites that are created from content. Are you also feeding into the content pool of what people can be having conversations around the community you are in? So if you're not engaging, contributing, and putting stuff in there, don't expect anything back from that community. So if you really look at what you're doing, are you creating? Are you showing up? Are you also part of the conversations? Are you helping people? That then would then constitute, okay, then we can use social media to then amplify whatever it is that we're showing about. Or we can use social media to not be a mirror of who we are, but a window into what it is that we're creating. Because we just look at that black mirror in front of us, and if it looks good to us, then we think it's okay. But maybe our clients are far from that. You see, if you haven't walked a mile in your client's shoes, then you wouldn't understand what they're going through. But I don't know about podiatrists. I wouldn't want to walk in a mile in anybody's shoes, especially when they have those single toe shoes those American people wear.
Oh yeah, they're weird, those things. Hey, before we wrap up, I'm just looking at the time. What is the online prosperity experience? What's that all about?
Absolutely.
May as well give whatever you're doing at the moment a bit of a plug, and then you tell people where they can find you, and then we'll call it a wrap.
Oh, fantastic. I really, really appreciate that. You see, with me, I work with coaches and consultants and people that are working to create a practice. So if you're really passionate about doing the work that you're meant to be doing and living an inspired life while you're doing that, then obviously the Online Prosperity Experience is the podcast of choice. Every single day at 12 p.m., I put out a 30-minute episode where I'm just, I call it snitching on what's happening.
Do you do it every day?
I do my podcast every single day, yeah.
Every day?
Every single day, 30 minutes. I sit down and an episode comes out.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is called the Online Prosperity Experience.
Yeah. So usually it's around marketing, it's around life, it's around just really creating a business that's profitable and enjoyable. And I obviously want people to build a brand that they're proud of, and actually create a life that they are proud to call theirs. So we're just talking about what's happening in the marketing world. We're talking about who I've spoken to and what their mindset is and what I think about that. So it's just generally chats around how to really create a strong brand and a way of life, and create marketing that actually is intentional instead of just spraying and praying out there. So it's called the Online Prosperity Experience. You can find it on any platform that you listen your podcast from, and it's my way now of showing up and creating content so that we create the conversations in the marketplace, even though we're not on social media. So,
and if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to do it?
Just like you did, look me up. My name is Prosper Taruvinga.
I'll spell it for people. So it's Prosper as in prosper.
Prosper.
And then Taruvinga. So just go and Google that and you will find it very, very easily.
Absolutely.
So
just think, live long and prosper.
Yes.
From Star Trek.
Star Trek. Remember that was when we were doing the whole
Live long and prosper, and eventually you will definitely come across something that I would have done along those lines.
Okay, so Prosper, I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast, sharing your knowledge with us, and I'm sure I will talk to you again very, very soon.
Don't leave it too long this time, because you never know. But I really appreciate you reaching out. I really appreciate you sharing this time with me and just having a banter around social media. I don't know how much insurance you've got. All the things that we spoke about on this call are of an advice nature only. So if anyone goes in and starts, deleting all their social medias thinking that's the way to go, well, that wouldn't be it. But I really appreciate you having a chat with me with regards to that. Thank you so much, man.
That's very good. Thank you very much.